Moving on to the novice hurlers, the Supreme Novices, a race you've won in the past.
Yes, Ebbsine and Tourist Attraction have won that. I have a nice couple of horses running in that. Blackstairs Mountain would probably be my best. Once again, lack of experience, but he did it very well his first day in Punchestown, and he jumps well at home, so I'm going to take a chance with him. Ruby was quite pleased with him the day he rode him in Punchestown. Then Flat Out won in Punchestown as well. He's a horse that I have huge time for. I think it's late in the season getting jumping with him, but he's a good horse with an engine, and I'm happy enough to let him take his chance on that. Emmett Mullins will ride him.
Yeah, you liked him a lot based on his bumper win in Galway. I thought that was particularly good.
Yeah, I think the way he's run, he's a tough horse to ride, and he's hard on himself at home. So oftentimes I don't, I ran him twice in bumpers earlier on, and he got beaten. But that's because he's just so hard on himself at home, and I didn't want to be hard on him. So he got fit himself really in bumpers, and then when he got right, he was very, very good, and he just did it naturally. His first run over hurled. Now, it mightn't have been the greatest race in the world, but he did it well. I think he's a horse that will win plenty more races.
The 2 Mile 5 novice, the Neptune Investment Management
Yes,
race you won before under another sponsorship a few years ago, 5 for 3.
5 for 3, won that. Miguel won that. So it's a lucky enough race for us too. I've been marking this race out for Kellespree. I know he was beaten in Leopardstown the last day. I felt I probably ran him in the wrong race when he won the 3 mile race in Cork. I thought I should have probably stuck to my guns and run him in the Barry and Sandra Kelly race, the type of form he was in that. Because I think he ran a cracker in the bumper last year in Cheltenham. I think 2-5 over hurdles will be no trouble to him. And at the moment, this point in time, he's my one for that.
And if you want to guess, sort of, if he runs in that, he'll be going sort of back up and trip. You think that'll suit him?
Oh, he needs to go back up and trip. I just took him back on it. Took a bit of a gamble going back to 2 miles and then coming up to 2-2, and he's a very good horse as well. I don't think a trip will be any problem to him. But, if I hadn't run him in those and kept him to 2.5 plus, there's a chance he might be unbeaten at this stage, but I thought he maybe could go back, but when you meet the likes of Dungive over those shorter trips, we wouldn't be good enough to beat him. So he must have an each way chance in that as well.
Yeah, the longest distance novice hurdle, the Albert Bartlett, what's that looking like? Yeah,
the Albert Bartlett, I've got a good few in that, but I think Enterprise Park is the horse that I have on the top of my mind at the moment for it. Fionegas is there, and Kellespree is there, and Baroni is there. That's another one I haven't run at all lately, but he is a possibility. But I think Enterprise Park is the one that I'm looking at there, with possibly either Fionegas or Baroni as a backup.
And stamina, obviously not a problem for Enterprise Park?
Oh, I don't think so, no. He's closely related to the Listener, Dooney's Gate. It's a real stamina-laden pedigree, and so I have no trouble with stamina for him.
The Triumph Hurdle?
Triumph Hurdle, we have Seek and Star, and at the moment he's just had a fall and a win. Now his fall, he was going to win very easily. When he won in Gorn, his next run, he won quite easy, and he jumped big, but I think he's a nice engine. I'd like a good cut in the ground for him as well, but he's doing it all right at home. He shows me plenty at home, showed me plenty on the 2 runs that he had, and he's going to be my best one for that.
One of the most impressive winners at the festival last year was Quavega in the David Nicholson Mares Hurl. You're on a repeat mission with her?
I think so. I didn't get to run her, and I wasn't too worried because I was so happy with how she did things last year. She was coming along quite nicely up to about 3 weeks ago. She got a little infection and set us back a week or 10 days, but we had a lot of work done. She's worked well this week, and I'm quite pleased with how she's going. She'll probably work now in Leopardstown or maybe somewhere else shortly after that. if I can get her back to anything like the form she was in going to Cheltenham last year, she looks, she'll be hard to beat. Colin Murphy's mare, you have to respect Valère
La
Vedette. So that's, I'm hoping I can get her back there. I might have Jevol in that as a backup, but Jevol could actually, we didn't mention her for the Ryanair. She's a live one for the Ryanair, I think, on her last win in Gorn.
And just remind us why we haven't seen Quevega since.
Quevega got a hind leg injury coming back from her last run in France, and at the time prognosis was very bad that we wouldn't get her back, so we just took the gamble that we would try and get her back for Cheltenham only, not trying to rush her back. And at the moment it looks like it's paid off. She hasn't given us any trouble. I've run her in a schooling hurdle, and I've done plenty of work with her. We won't do much jumping between now and then. We're going to have I think my vet told me that jumping might aggravate it, so I think I'm just going to take a chance that she'll warm up over the first couple. We might give her a little school at home, but really she has enough jumping experience.
The Weatherby's Champion Bumper, I suppose it could be renamed the Willie Mullins Champion Bumper. You've won it so many times, but you haven't. Your bumper horses for the last few months haven't been running or winning as regularly as in past seasons. I know there's been a bit of a pick-up in the last.
Yeah, I think we're just, normally our bumper horses are late, but this year we had a bit of cough going around the yard in the autumn, and then with the weather hold up in January when I wanted to get stuck into them, we're late. A few of them have come forward. Day of a Lifetime has come forward. Horse I ran yesterday, Bishop's Furs, yeah. He looks very smart, considering he hated every bit of the ground, and he's by Broadway Flyer. I think he wants good ground. He's a really good mover. But I was very impressed with how far back he came from.
Yeah, he came from another parish.
Yeah, exactly. And would that remind one of another horse that won the bumper a few years ago in his maiden bumper? I'll leave you to work that one out. But
does he remind you of Cousin Vinny? That's the important.
Well, his performance. I mean, the amount of ground he made up in the last 2 furlongs was huge, and carrying that, carrying proper weight in heavy ground, very hard for horses to do that. And he did it, so he impressed me now.
Horse that won at Fairyhouse a bit earlier on in the season, about that
did nothing wrong that day. He's an out-and-out stayer, I'd say. He's by Alderbrook. Won his point to point. I think if the ground is better in Cheltenham, which it will be, it was atrocious that day. And that day was our first batch of runners back from the cold snap. And even though he won 15 or 20 lengths, I thought maybe he didn't beat much. But subsequently, the following week, our horses just didn't fire, and then they came back into form again. And I actually thought that maybe that performance that day, our Vika Legionnaire won that day, and the bumper horse won. And maybe, in light of the way our horse ran the following week, I mightn't have given him the. I mightn't have realised that how good a run those 2 horses were on the day. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, and he goes across.
So, I mean, roughly speaking, numbers for the bumper this year, are you?
3-4, I think, up out of that. Day of a Lifetime, Bishop's Furs, and I'm not sure whether I'm going to run Not for Converting, who won last year, and a horse called Lyssa Kyle, who won last year. They'll certainly get entries, and we'll see how they work between now and the day now and the end of in Cheltenham.
Now for the tricky question. At this stage, a couple of weeks in advance of the festival, could you sort of narrow down a few horses that you have big expectations for? Maybe give us 3 on the team that you're expecting to go very well.
Yeah, well, I think my novice hurdlers are probably, I have a really good batch of novice hurdlers. I think Kellesprit, Enterprise Park, and
whatever
You know, it's hard to say.
You're going to forecast you're going to beat Dungabe, like you're going to.
Well, an each way bet, then you could pick either of the other two horses. I know Ruby was very taken with Blackstairs Mountain.
Yeah.
You know, I think my novice hurdlers probably will be the better part of my team this year.